Oh, hey, we've got... Hello. Oh, hey, we've got... Hello. Oh, hey. We've got a little bit of Stolas inception here. Oh, well. Hey, howdy. Hey, my friends. Hi, Miro. All right. Well, today we're back with more art as meditation, conversation, making art. Oh, you know what? Ooh, I need an apron. I really need an apron, or I'm going to make a huge mess of myself. All right. Okay. Cool. I need to take these off. So how the heck are you doing? Happy time zones. Happy Sunday to you. If you're in Australia, it's probably Monday. Early Monday, I think. I do miss seeing Why Have You Done This? I very once in a blue moon might catch him. Now that I'm not streaming what for me is Sunday evenings, and for him would be Monday morning, I don't see very much of him these days. All right. Doing pretty good. Weekend was awesome. Yes. And work is done for the year. Oh, I'm envious of that. I generally don't get the end of the year off, but I did take off 4 or 5 days of vacation. So the 26th through the 31st, I normally don't take that full time off, but I'm actually going to a meditation retreat hosted by the Buddhist temple that I go to. Well, it's not really a temple. I guess you could call it a temple, but it's a meditation center in Minneapolis called Common Ground, and it's a lot less. It doesn't have any of the cultural trappings of Asian culture. Not to say that that's a trapping. But it doesn't have any of the hangover cultural things that you might expect from Buddhism, bringing it over from Thailand, Vietnam, wherever in the universe. So I'm taking about 5 days for this meditation retreat, and I'm a little nervous about it because there is a lot of sitting meditation, and there's walking meditation, and peppered in there is some talks or teachings, Dharma teachings from the two hosts, and the rest of the whole time it's going to be all what they call noble silence. So we'll be practicing silence as well. I talk a lot. At least when I'm in a comfortable setting. So this will be kind of refreshing for me to have 5 days of a lot of silence, a lot of time to sit in meditation and contemplation. And I'm sure it's going to be pretty eye-opening for myself. All the various areas that I still get hung up, and all of the different things that are a work in progress for me. And one of those works in progress is gratitude, learning how to express gratitude, which is the topic today for today's conversation, is practicing gratitude. Practicing gratitude for yourself, for the experiences that we all have as human beings. It will be an experience. That's for sure. But also practicing gratitude toward other people, toward our challenging circumstances that we experience. gratitude toward the difficult things in life, and gratitude toward our art. So, one thing, and we'll kind of start to transition into the art facet of this. Let me move this over so I can just keep an eye on the camera, make sure it's all level and all that. So some of you may be aware of the portrait that I was working on with my daughter, and oh my gosh, that has been an ongoing challenge for me, because portraiture is not my skill set. I'm not a very good portraiture artist. My wheelhouse, if that's what you want to call it, is definitely more akin to or in the world of abstract surrealism, but surrealism kind of as a sort of kind of like almost graphic novel or comic based, where it's very like this piece, where is it, right here, is a great example. It's very vibrant. It's nonsensical, but it's all things that just pop in the subconscious, and I go, let's throw that in there and let's find a way to work it in. Here's another great example. I don't know what's going on here. but it's all just stuff that, creeps up from the subconscious into the conscious mind, and like, all right, we'll throw that in there. But once in a while I try and get into more expressionistic, realistic things, like this piece here is just a sketch of an idea that I had of a young man with his phone shackled to the earth, and the earth being larger than life, and ever as a reminder that, you think this is your world, but your world is right behind you, and there's a whole vast universe in that world to explore, and the world in your phone is great, but not real. Here's another really good example of the surrealist stuff that I like to do. It's just weird. It's like letting the subconscious mind go, boop, here we are. So in this case, it's kind of a collection of monsters and figures and a little bit of industrial things going on there. And once in a while, I just explore and play with different ideas. Well, back onto the topic of my picture of my daughter, I had come to a place where I felt like I fixed it, and well, more or less. But in the back of my mind, I was like, I really want to add a splash of color, some watercolor to this, and I tested it out on another area, a different sheet of paper, and it seemed to work okay. But then, so here's the piece as it stands now. For the most part, it's good, it's fine. But one of the things that it revealed, there's white ink that I had that covered up my mess up of the nose. The nose is originally lower, and I was like, the proportion felt completely wrong to me. So I felt like I had to move the nose up, and so I covered it up with white ink, but that white ink is not permanent. Well, at least not on top of black ink. Maybe white ink is permanent on top of paper, but not on top of another ink, apparently. And so in the process of washing in the watercolor, see how all the other ink dots remained, but that white just went, goodbye, peace out. And so now there's this shadow of a second nose, and it was absolutely heartbreaking to me. Absolutely heartbreaking, because I spent a lot of time on all of these little dots and all of the really fine hair details. But here we are practicing gratitude, right? and asking myself, how can I be grateful for this? How can I be grateful for the fact that in my mind, I feel like I messed up my peace? Well, the gratitude takes a little bit of digging to find, with difficult things. One of the things that I'm learning in my own growth as a human being is that we tend to shy away from really difficult things. We tend to shy away from things that are unpleasant. We shy away from things that hurt. It's just the body. It's the body and the mind is going, ooh, that hurt. Let's avoid it. So at its base level, it's just evolution. It's just the evolutionary process of the mind going, yeah, that wasn't pleasant. Let's do something else. But the reality is with all of the unpleasant things that we face as human beings in the modern world, the vast majority of those things are not life-threatening. The unpleasant conversation you have to have with a coworker or a friend, or the sickness or illness that the symptoms, like, I've been dealing with a cold all week and it's just been super unpleasant. Or the unpleasantness of having to fell 2 trees and that costs you $6,000, and unpleasant car repairs and the washing machine going out and all of these other unpleasant things. And it's like, well, sometimes you just can't avoid it. And while the artist David Cho suggests that instead of pushing away from these things, we should be leaning into them, leaning into the discomfort and allowing the discomfort to become a teacher, to show us new insights about ourselves, about how the world works, about the nature of reality, the nature of our thoughts. So I'm asking myself, this is unpleasant. This, I struggle with the idea of giving this to my daughter. I was originally going to give this as a Christmas gift, but I did not finish this. Well, I did not finish my son's gift in time. I'm just not going to have nearly enough time. So these are going to end up having to be gifts given at different points. But I sit with this uncomfortable feeling of worried about being judged, worried about what I perceive as going to be the accompanying rejection because of the nose, or because some other flaw that's in my drawing or my painting, and this discomfort that I feel. We all have the tendency of wanting to push these things away. Well, the more I sit with it and I just let it be as it is, what does this teach me? Well, on the more obvious side of things, this teaches me that, well, I have a lot of work to do in terms of training myself in being better at, or in building up the skill of drawing faces. Faces are very difficult for me, especially getting the relationships right, the relationship between the nose and the mouth, and the spacing of the eyes, and all of the little subtleties that go into the complexity of the human face. So on some level, it's leaning into this discomfort, that this is the way it is, and this is where I am right now. We tend to also project out into the future, or desire for stuff out into the future, like desiring to be a better artist, or desiring to be respected, desiring, it's just desire. And we've talked about this a few times now, where the Buddha said that desire is one of the fundamental sources of our suffering. Even desire for good things, desire for noble things, because invariably those results of the desires do not last. They're ephemeral. They're in one day and out the next, or in one moment and out the next. And even desiring happiness, the happiness will always give way for something else. Always. It always does. So what does this teach me? This teaches me to be kind to myself. Remember that we were working on that last week about kindness towards self, kindness towards others, learning how to be gentle and understanding with where I am, where the reality of my journey, the reality that I don't have the fortune, or I have not had the fortune of my whole life being immersed in drawing and painting and being taught by professors and stuff. I did not go to school for this. And, invariably we do the Instagram scroll thing or YouTube or what have you, and we start looking at all these other people and go, oh my God, they are so good at that. And invariably the mind fills in the rest of the equation. God, they're so good, and I'm not. Or hi, Jenna, welcome in. First time chatter, first time viewer. It's great to have you in here. Welcome to the stream today. This is Art as Meditation, and today's conversational topic is about gratitude. So great to have you here. If you are an artist or creator or creative type, I would love to hear what you do. So go ahead, share it in the chat. And welcome to the conversation. So this is totally interactive. This is not a one-way. I mean, I do blah, 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 talk quite a bit, but this is, well, I'm glad to have you here. And this is a two-way conversation. So going back to expressing gratitude for the difficult things. Oh, you just admire cool stuff. Well, I'm pretty certain that there are some areas of your life that you do even exhibit your own creativity. So, but it's great to have you here, and welcome and enjoy the conversation. And so, expressing gratitude. When you're faced with a piece that you're not proud of, or entirely proud of, like this is a piece that I still struggle with. It's finding gratitude with where the journey has taken me, the things that I have learned along the way. Like one of the things, I'm getting a little bit better at my pointillism in terms of being able to build out shadow and form with my pointillism. I'm getting a little bit better at the finer detail of drawing hair. Hair is so hard to draw with ink. Like, it is so difficult. But I'm getting slowly better at it. And, well, I quickly learned the limitations of mixing watercolor with certain inks, namely white ink. Well, we're gonna do some paintings. So this is actually, before we move on to that, this is the piece that I had been working on last week. I'm really close to being finished. So this is the Japanese word for kindness, or the Japanese characters, the kanji characters for kindness. And the texture background here, that's all the words, be kind to yourself. So I don't know how much I can move this up where it becomes visible, but it's just this mantra of be kind to yourself, be kind to yourself, be kind to yourself, be kind to yourself. It's kind of, in a way, it's kind of like taking back the old school teachers that, they used to punish, misbehaving students. Like if you were caught writing on the desk, you would have to go up to the board at the end of school or after class and write on the board like 70,000 times, I will not write on the desk, I will not write on the desk. as a means for corporal punishment for, misbehaving in class. Well, I took that as an opportunity to redeem that and use it as a meditation practice, drawing as meditation. In this way, writing over and over and over and over, be kind to yourself, be kind to yourself, be kind to yourself. And it's all, this is all just dip pen ink, which it's not easy to work with. Dip pens are, unless you have loads of experience with it, and I don't. I'm relatively new to dip pens. I started just a few weeks ago, really. Why did I start broaching the realm of dip pens? Well, because where's my pens? All right, so in my collection I have loads of watercolor markers, but these are my favorite pens on planet Earth, the Pigma Micron series, and they come in very small sizes. So the smallest size, where is it, 003, which that is 0.15 millimeters. That is a ridiculously small line. But I have, with all of the drawing, the pointillism and whatnot, I have been going through those pens in rapid succession, and I'm like, this is not sustainable. So I have ventured out into the world. I've picked up this has so far been my favorite ink. This is Speedball's Super Black ink, and I have been using two different dip pens. One, well, I've got a collection of nibs, but one is this 534s, I think it is, or whatever. It's just nice general pen for writing. And then this small one, I forget the number on this one. This, I think it's a 107 or 170 or something like that. But I use this for all of my finer detail stuff when I need to do some really small writing. And that's what I've been using on this entire piece. It's just, and there are moments of imperfection. One of the challenges of working with dip pens is that it's very difficult to see, but the pen basically splits in the middle of the nib. And that is how the ink distributes. The ink is kept in this reservoir right here, and then flows down and is distributed through the crack. So when you press the nib harder onto the surface, that nib splits and separates. And then what happens is the ink flows at a much more rapid rate. But also the flip side of that is it's so easy to get little paper fibers, cat hairs, all the other things stuck in the nib. And so you're constantly cleaning out the nib in between long successions. But yeah, so that's been the fun and the challenge of working with dip pens, and I won't look back. It's great. It's been a fun learning journey for me. But that kind of fits though well with the theme of this piece of being kind to yourself, because there's a lot of imperfections, a lot of spots where the ink is more dense than the others, and some areas where the words are really sloppy, but other areas where the words are really neat and clean. And that, my friends, is life. That is flippin' life. You have moments of when you feel on top of your game, when you can't do a single thing wrong and you're doing amazing stuff and you're making progress. And then you have other moments when you just feel like garbage, and the voices inside your mind are like, oh, you're no good, man. Oh, but these other people, they're super good. You? And that self-talk, man, that will run you down. Looking back to chat here, Jenna, you say, but if we express gratitude for art we don't like, does that mean we are valuing the effort over the outcome? Is the outcome less important in this context? Well, that's a really fantastic question, because gratitude for art we don't like it's an opportunity to consider other perspectives. It's an opportunity to look at other possibilities. One of the things that I've learned in my old age is that, or I should say relatively old age. I'm not super old, but old enough. But one of the things I've learned, though, over the course of my lifetime is that the minute I lock myself into certainty about something, I've stopped exploring. I've stopped asking questions. I've stopped inquiring and being curious. Ultimately, as a creator, and an artist or musician or an individual who just loves to savor the uniqueness of life, if you stop asking questions, if you stop inquiring, and if you come at something with absolute certainty, you're not open to anything. You're locked into an idea and one possibility out of infinite other possibilities. So, and of course we all have our preferences. We really do. You know, with art, I have certain things that I really gravitate towards and other things that I don't. Like, for example, when I go to when I go to the Minneapolis Institute of Art, which is home for me here in Minneapolis, well, the Institute of Art is not my home, though that would be really cool. Really cool. I can tell you that one of the areas in the museum that I completely gloss over and skip over is all of the later British art or the early American art with all the powdered wigs and the Christian symbolism and some of those things that are kind of that now in modern thought we would kind of also equate with colonialism. Those areas aren't really as interesting to me, but that's only because I have locked myself out of curiosity. I have locked myself out of being willing and in a position to learn from those artists, from those expressions. Now, that said, you know, we don't have to like everything. That, I think, is the important distinction. We don't have to like everything. But being in a position to be curious enough to learn more than what is our perspective, that is a whole different ballgame. So, when we express gratitude for art that we don't like, we're not I think that you're hitting on toward the right end of that spectrum, where it's your appreciating the process, probably even the level of difficulty in pulling off, like some of the things that we miss out on as I don't know, people who consume art. One of the things that we miss out on is the appreciation for the context, the historical context of the materials and the surrounding circumstances that these artists found themselves in. You know, there are a lot of subtle movements and shifts in art history over the many centuries of humanity, and we miss a lot of that nuance. We miss a lot of those finer details because of, you know, if we're not educated in art history, you know, you're not going to have the same level of appreciation as someone who went to school explicitly for that. and has studied art history extensively, because invariably when you're studying art history, you're not just studying the historical side of things, you're also studying the evolution of theory, the evolution of color, the evolution of materials and techniques. And so we as artists today, we are standing on the shoulders of giants who have considered and weighed things that we either take for granted or don't even notice at all. So that's where this idea of coming at things with curiosity and gratitude, looking for all of the subtleties that makes art what it is. But at the end of the day, it's art is fundamentally communication. It is communication of the person who's creating, when they are basically effectively communicating their observations about the world, their observations about themselves, their observations about their feelings or circumstances in their life. And that's all blending and mixing with our own lived experiences, our own perspectives, and it all makes its way out into the canvas, out into the clay, or whatever the medium you happen to be working with. I think that the art collecting world and the art selling world is, while it's wonderful, it's great that, there are artists that are able to make a livelihood from selling their art. I do not view commerce and capitalism as essential for art. In fact, I think it can quite easily muddy up the waters and make it very difficult for one to see their art with greater clarity and see what they're doing with greater clarity. Because we tend to get caught up in the numbers game of how many people are viewing your Instagram posts, or how many people have visited your website, and how many of those visitors are actually people that end up buying art and from your website or whatever. So it's too easy to get caught up into that game, and then to start to spiral as an artist, as a creative, when things don't match or align up to your hopes or your expectations. One of the things the Buddha taught was hope is one of those things that when we desire hope, when we desire for something good to happen for us, being received well or perceived well, or people buying our art, we invariably open up the door for disappointment. Opening up the door for things not panning out the way we want them to. And so it's for that reason that I have, as my own practice, been trying to distill down to the very core essence of why I do what I do. Why do I create art? Why do I create music? Why the heck am I doing this stream? It's for the pure joy of sitting in front of a piece of paper or canvas or whatever, and turning inward and observing my feelings, observing my thoughts, observing my experiences that I've been living through, and asking myself, how do I respond to that? How can I convey those ideas on paper, in canvas, what have you? So there is an element of communion with yourself, communion with the universe, with people, with the way life just is. And it's in that moment where when we start to really see the beauty and the horror of it all, and we're able to kind of express it in a variety of ways. And the bonus is that if people are able to come along with us on that journey and experience something similar or something for themselves out of what we create, that is the icing on the cake. It's great, but it's not required. So let me get caught up in chat. I see chat moving here. DJ, welcome. You say the other part of this equation is the sheer amount of art availability today. Yes, everyone can make art, and often at very high quality with the tools we can buy today. And so the race is in with all the others who want the same kind of goal outcome. It is important to understand why we make art, and if the relationship includes others, then the balance is very challenging. Oh, man, you said it. You said it, DJ. That is the other element that we're not even talking about here, is the minute you start engaging with capitalism or commerce and you're selling your art, you're invariably competing against your kin, against your peers, and it's not a perfect system. It's great, if if this is what you're depending upon for your livelihood, then I think that there are concessions you have to make as an artist. You have to be prepared to start making art that you don't necessarily want to make. Because if your goal is to earn a livelihood from your art, you're invariably going to have to create art that other people want, and not necessarily the art that you make. There are loads of extremely talented, gifted, skilled artists that make exactly what they want to make, and they don't sell a dime. And it's not because their work is bad, or it's simply that, sometimes what resonates for you will not necessarily resonate with other people. Like this piece here, this is maybe not going to resonate with anybody, But for me, this is my spiritual act. This is my spiritual act of trying to train the brain to be kind to myself. So these are Japanese characters that say the word that mean kindness, and this whole page is going to be laced with the words "be kind to yourself, be kind to yourself, be kind to yourself." So it's like a mantra, a meditative mantra of just reinforcing that the only productive behavior for myself is to be kind to myself. And because I don't know about you guys, but with things that I've experienced in life, it's the easy way through is to belittle myself, or to criticize myself, or to pick apart the flaws in my work, and by juxtaposition, the flaws within myself, because I project. It's a tendency we do once in a while, is we project ourselves onto our work. And so, by the way, I have to call attention to the music that we've been listening to. This is music from my dear friend Sonora. He's an artist in the UK, and he recently just issued a new cassette. It's just really fantastic. It's called Snow Globe, and here he is. And this is a companion booklet that I got with this cassette. Really, really great music. I highly recommend him. You can find him out at Sonora. That's sonora.bandcamp.com. The next album we're going to be listening to comes from Andrew Lane, another really good artist. So today, we're not going to be finishing this piece. Nope. I've been writing too much. There is one series that I've been kind of playing around with, and these are all, yes, like an actual cassette, like it's a physical, yeah, totally. But anyways, so these are some pieces that I'm working on. These are just ideas right now. as an artist, I struggle with essential tremors. It's not an easy condition, and it varies widely. So some days I can hold my hands calmly and reasonably still, and other days I have really shaky moments. It varies. It's crazy. So I've been playing with these ideas of the relationship between perception of perfection with reality, the reality of my inability to draw a perfectly straight line freehand. I mean, if I'm being honest, many of us actually struggle to draw a straight line freehand, but with a tremor condition, it makes it even more difficult. Then I started playing with different movements. So this is like from left to right, which is my dominant way of being able to draw lines. Then I went from top to bottom, kind of vertical in this. And then this one, I went with the least dominant, going from bottom to top. Drawing this direction is very difficult for me. And this is all using dip pen. This is all ink, red ink, and the black India ink. And then finally this piece with this kind of circle, kind of resembling the Japanese flag. But then encircling it with this going counterclockwise, which is also a struggle to draw curved lines counter. And it just has something to do with, with the frequency. Like there's a frequency at which my hand shakes. It's really odd. If you pay long enough attention, you can start to see a pattern, and it's nearly consistent. I don't have it here, but there was one sheet where I just was drawing straight lines as practice, and you can see the fine little, like the EKGs with the heart monitor. That's what it resembled. It's just this constant, and that's the frequency of the energy coming out of my mind, pumping through my nervous system. So these are some ideas that I've been playing with, but we're not going to be working on that. Nor are we going to be doing any surrealist sketching. We're going to paint because I want to paint. And by the way, forgive me for my sniffles here. I've been wrestling with a cold. All right. So first things first, we're going to tape down our paper, and I'm going to be working in multiple sheets here. We've got this, I think this is a 12 by 18. What is it? Where are you again? 9 by 12. Close. I think the 12 by 18 is over here. This is a 5.5 by 8.5 sketchbook, so we're going to be working in that too. Plus, I've got this smaller pad, and this is one where I started experimenting with actually painting inside a sketchbook. And this is the series that we did last time. I really, 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 really liked how this landed. I really like it. I love the colors, the relationships. This is a new thing that I've been learning as an artist, is trying to build relationships so that when you are different colors, you don't want it to just be one-dimensional. You want some things to start jutting out in front of others and some things to fall behind. So it's trying to learn how to build a vertical relationship as well as a horizontal relationship with the rest of the items. And it's also experimenting with color, like what happens when these colors blend? What happens? What do you get? And here we've got some kind of really happy accidents with some of these blends. You get some really interesting peachy rose colors. I also love the wash of white texture in here. Just kind of adds an element of grit. Not to mention how this feels. I mean, I love feeling paint on paper or paint on canvas. Like, if they would let me do it, I would run my hands over all the paintings at the Minneapolis Institute of Art, because there's something about texture, the texture of paint. It's so super appealing. So anyways, we're also going to be working in that. And then we've got this larger, I think this is the 12 by 18. Is it 12 by 18? Yes, this is the 12 by 18. So we're going to do a large, so we'll have 4 different pieces. So we're going to be painting in succession. So as we finish one layer on one piece, we'll move to another and another and another, and we're going to keep rotating until we have get to a good stopping point. And all the while, we're going to be talking about gratitude. So tell me, let me pose a question into the chat. And this is, you don't feel any obligation like you have to participate, but if you so wish to participate, I would welcome it. So tell me, so write down 2 things. One thing that you, first of all, let's just start with gratitude right out of the gate. Let's write down or type in the chat one thing that you're really grateful for. And then write one, and it just, you don't have to be specific, because I don't want to out anyone and I don't want to cause any uncomfortable situations, but write or type in chat maybe something, a subject or thing that you really struggle to be grateful for. Like, what are some things that you really wrestle with and you're like, oh, I would really love to be grateful about this, but... So, we got a weird... What happened here? Okay. All right. Yeah, I'm just going to start with a new piece. That was really weird. Weird. So weird. Well, I will start. One thing that I'm really grateful for. I am super grateful for, well, a number of things, actually. I'm really grateful for both finding a therapist who really gets and understands how to help me. And right along with that, I'm really grateful for finding Buddhism for myself. It's not that Buddhism is the magic bullet or that it is perfect, but it really has been instrumental in helping me understand myself and understanding how the world really works underneath it all. The Buddhism doesn't ask you to believe anything. In fact, the Buddha would have warned you off if someone would have approached you with absolute certainty, like, oh, this is it. Because even the Buddha himself, and this is just paraphrase because I can't remember specifics to save my life, but is that if if the minute you feel like, and I was talking about this at the start of the stream, that the minute this and actually came out of, let me go stream back up. This is Jenna99 who came in and was asking about this. Should we be grateful about art we don't like? And part of what I was saying is that if we approach life with certainty, we stop asking questions. We stop being curious. We stop wondering. And the minute we stop wondering, the minute we stop asking questions, we stop learning, we stop growing. And we quickly spiral into what's the word I'm looking for? We spiral into dogmatic thinking, where we are sold on one idea as being completely universal. But the reality is that just isn't the case. You know, there is a part of one of the Buddha's mantras that's commonly used. There is a phrase that they say, help me understand. Well, now I'm going to get this wrong, but the essence of the mantra is this: to clearly know the nature, or that the nature of truth is that it's all relative to your own experience, and the only absolute truth is the nature of truth itself. That all of these things that people parade around as, you know, their beliefs, and they parade it around with absolute certainty, but they're the very thing that they're missing out on is that their belief is completely dependent upon the context to which they received or came to that line of thinking. You know, it's like if you grow up here in the United States, there is probably a very good chance that you're going to end up going to some sort of evangelical church or Catholic church or something, or you might, you know, with our growing Muslim population, you might become Muslim, you know, but so much of it is contextual to where you find yourself. But the nature of truth is that it's all relative. It's relative based upon your lived experience. And it's not absolute. At least most things are not absolute. There's always another perspective out there. And that's where curiosity comes in. All right. Let's pick some colors. Let me get caught up in chat before we do. I'm going to hide my face here so that I can bend down here and look for colors while I read the chat. Muriel says, I'm really grateful for my family and friends. As for struggling with being grateful for, need to really think hard about. Here we go. I'm struggling to be grateful about my workplace. The pay is good and the working conditions are quite good as well. There's a whole lot much worse jobs out there, but there's a constant tendency to wish and expect more from the employer, especially for how well they are doing. I feel that. You know, how many times have we, you know, explored or entertained the thought of, gosh, I wish I had a better job, instead of practicing a little bit of contentment and trying to be grateful for where we are, even if the job is not ideal, because maybe there's things about that job that can teach us. All right. You know what? What kind of colors are we in the mood for here? I would switch to my face cam, but my face is nowhere to be found. It's way down here. Maybe we could move this up. Let's do that. We'll move this up, and I'm going to try not to break my shock mount mic this time. All right. So this is my unorganized, chaotic mess. All right. Oh, can I teach you something? All right. I've yet to use these in a practical application yet, but both paper towel and toilet paper rolls. You know what? They slide right onto paint rollers. Follow me here. There's nothing to say that I couldn't then distress up these things. Just like, creating some sort of pattern. I've even seen someone used after we got an ad starting in 1 minute, so I'm going to vow to not talk during that time, so we're going to try and wrap this up in 60 seconds. But I've seen one artist even wrap this in bubble wrap. But then think about it. You can create a one-off pattern and then slap it on there, roll some paint, and then you've got suddenly a repeating pattern that you can use on your paintings. So these are actually bamboo. I've switched recently to toilet paper made of bamboo. It's actually really soft and durable. But these are also made of bamboo, this cardboard, and it's really solid. I was like, geez, yeah, let's use that. We'll try using that. So I don't know, maybe we'll experiment with that today. All right, we got an ad break in 20 seconds here. I'm just going to resume picking out colors. I'm not going to talk, and we'll listen to some music while the ads are running. By the way, thank you for your support, but do not feel obligated to subscribe. Thank you for hanging out with me. Excuse me for those of you that are subscribed, hearing me sniffling. Oi. Welcome back. We're just listening to the music of Andrew Lane. I've got some colors picked out. I'm trying to keep the palette simple, but I'm invariably going to add a little bit of complexity. Let me get my palette knives out of the way. All right. Let's turn that down. So here's where I landed for colors. I'm not sure how I'm going to use these. So we have primary yellow and primary red. I can't help but love the appreciation of the irony of that. I accidentally had also grabbed primary blue. I'm like, nah, we're not going to do the primary colors because that's too straight. I'm not sure. I'm not 100% certain, but I might integrate cadmium orange hue into it as well. But these are going to be my starting point, both primary red and primary yellow. I did feel the impulse to bring in silver. Now, I'm not sure how well this is going to play. And speaking of, jeez, Miro, thank you. Sorry, I don't have any of the fancy bells and whistles for when people do things in here, like subscribing and, woo! There you go. There's your, there's your fanfare. And of course, black and white. We'll find a way to integrate these in somehow, some way, somewhere. All right. Excuse me for one moment while I blow my nose because that's just, ugh. All right. The funny thing is last Sunday, I felt like I was a little bit run down. I was like, gosh, I really wonder if I've got a cold coming on. And then it became obvious Monday morning. It's like, oh, yep, my voice has dropped 3 octaves. I think I've got a cold coming on. Which, that should be a thing. I should hire myself out for voiceover work when I have a cold first coming on, because seriously, the vocal cords get relaxed and really low. But I mean, that's nothing. I can drop a few more tones and semitones. All right, so what are we gonna do? This is the absolute worst part. Staring down a blank canvas, blank piece of paper. Absolutely miserable experience. That is why we're just gonna start out with just marks. And we'll see where it leads. We're gonna also throw some primary red too. Woo! Look at that. Look at that paint booger. That's a healthy sized paint booger. And then drop a little bit of that red on here. Oh, it looks like ketchup and mustard almost. Almost. I think I need to get myself some more paper towels on hand here, so I'm gonna run out quick. I just see it happening really soon. All right, so let's talk about gratitude. What am I grateful for? I believe that I did not finish my own gratitude statements. There's a lot that I am grateful for. That's kind of interesting. Ooh, look at all that paint. You know what? While we're at it, Why waste perfectly good paint? And we're just going to doctor up our paper a little bit here. Just get anything on. Let's see, do I want to do that? Yeah, what the heck. Alright, where am I going to set this? I really like that orange that came out of that. I really like that orange. Alright. So now, we've just instantly blitzkrieged a few of our notepads and or sketch pads. Alright, let me clean that off. Gratitude. I mentioned that I was grateful for the meditation center that I've found and the Buddhist practice. I'm grateful for my therapist who's really helped me sort through a lot of things. She said something. She's like, you know, in passing, she was like, you know, to give you context, I'm really working through a lot of childhood. I hate to call it trauma, but for me it was trauma. You know, it's not like anyone did anything really catastrophically bad to me, but you know, I had numerous things all going on at the same time that that became a hot, soupy mess for me. One, I didn't have very many friends growing up, and middle school was terrible. Like, teased and bullied and relentlessly for those 2 or 3 years. And, you know, we were also pretty poor growing up, so I did not have all the really latest fashions that everyone else was sporting, and felt like an outcast. And so a lot of that has kind of found its way into some deep crevices in my life. And my therapist was commenting, he's like, you know, we're making such amazing, huge progress here. And she said, you know, I feel really bad that you're just finally now getting around to healing something that happened, you know, 40 some years ago. And I'm like, well, this is the path. This is the path that I had to take. All right. But I'm really, I want to say that I'm grateful for the really difficult experiences that I've had, because, you know, there is no time machine. There is no going back in time and fixing things. There is no future. There is really only this moment we have right now. You can't go change the future. Excuse me. You can't go back and change the past. You can't rewrite history. And all you can do right now is just sit with the way things were in this present moment, in the now. And sitting here thinking what to do with this. What to do with this hot, painty mess. In some ways, we do that, like, what do I do with this hot mess of a life I've got right now? Well, how can I bring gratitude to some of the most painful moments in my life, in my history? How can I be grateful for that? Well, that's a very, very solid question. It's taught me a lot of things. It's taught me that repaying, you can't repay, well, how do I phrase this? You shouldn't repay suffering with suffering. Which is like the boys that tormented me in middle school. I'm fairly confident, like a high degree of confidence, that they themselves were suffering. They were just as nerdy and geeky as me. I just happened to be socially at the bottom of the barrel next to them, compared to them. And so I was an easy target. So what do unskillful kids do when they're feeling inadequate, when they're feeling insecure about themselves? They pick on people that they feel are weaker. And in America, we have toxic masculinity, where we have this idea that we have to be macho, or we have to only exhibit strength, or only, never show weakness, never cry, never. But I should have shaken that up. It's going to be kind of watery. Or really watery. Oh my goodness. That's something. That is something. You know what? It's a good thing this is water-based, because you can do just that. But what we have this toxic masculinity in terms of just, if someone's going to be mean to you, you be mean right back. If someone pushes you or shoves you, you push and shove right back. If someone says something hurtful to you, you say it right back. Well, how we can see there's another area in life where we can see how this is played out. Gaza. And the manufactured state of Israel. Kind of like that. We see it in the tit for tat. Oh, well, you did this, so now I'm going to do this back to you. You sent a suicide bomber into one of our things. Well, now we're going to send back 20 guided missiles, and we're going to target your civilians. And then the mess just keeps propagating. And it doesn't lead to any sort of positive outcome. It just propagates the suffering, propagates the pain. So that's what I mean when I say that I feel like the things that I've experienced, and it's taught me that I am not going to grow and I'm not going to improve by continuing to think negatively about these boys, about what they've done to me, and, the tendency to want to wish them ill. I need a dramatically larger working space. I do not have a dramatically large working space, a very small working space. But I'm grateful for what I got. I am grateful that I do have a space that I can create. See? There it is, gratitude. Find the small things. Find a way to be grateful for them. Let's add a little bit more black on there. So I don't know. On some levels you could probably take it to an extreme in terms of toxic positivity or whatever the trend is, whatever they call it. But I don't know, there's something to be learned from almost every situation. And not just one thing that you can learn. There's numerous things that we can learn from really negative or hurtful or painful situations. We can learn. What else can I learn from my junior high? What else can I be grateful for? Well, I'm grateful that I survived. Grateful that I did not unalive myself. Which, a lot of people that are faced with ridiculously painful circumstances, a lot of people choose that path. And it's not an easy path. On some level, it's quite selfish. And extremely short-sighted. Because you miss out on the opportunity to find your way through and to discover the beauty of life, the beauty in the midst of the suffering, the beauty of being able to come alongside someone who feels the same way, and to tell them, you know what, I feel that way too. You know what, though? You're not alone. You are not alone. I feel that way as well. Okay. Ooh. Oh. Okay. That's cool. That was a talk about happy accident. Do you see that? Look at how magically, and there's still just a little bit of orange there, but most of it stopped right at that, this movement, like from the lower corner to the upper corner, how it just stopped and allowed this piece here to be dominant, like to come up a layer. So that's a cool happy accident right there. Love it. Okay. Now that we have, let's sit with this one for a while. We'll go back to these other pieces in a second. In a few moments. I feel like my desk is like one of those, you ever see those little square puzzles where it has 8 little pieces and then there's one opening and you have to move the pieces around all in this contained puzzle to try and put together whatever it is. That's what my desk feels like. It's like, okay, I have an opening here, we can move that here. Oh, but now we got an opening there and we can move that over there. So it's constant shifting of things around. All right. So this is for me the next stage of like, all right, now we've got some stuff on the page. Where does this take us? Where is the next step? How do we bring some order to the chaos of this? And by order is simply, how can we cultivate relationships of color, relationships of shapes, movement. One of the things I'm constantly learning from other artists is you want to find ways to keep the eye moving constantly on the... So this one I think is really good because you have like this line, this big, huge, broad stroke leading you down, but then there's this horizontal line that leads you over to this line that goes up, and it can shoot here or can send you down to here. There's lots of possibility for movement. Some of these other pieces I'm not so sure of yet, and I need to work with. Like this one here, I mean, it's just a little tiny piece. I need to figure out what the movement is going to be and how all these things... Right now, it's just a little bit of a blended mess. You know, maybe I need to just really shake things up a little bit. One of the things I did learn, there's an artist by the name of Gwen Fox. She's an older, much wiser artist than I. And one of the things that she's constantly trying to reinforce to her students in her videos and her instructions is don't be afraid to ask the question, what if? And not just ask the question, but actually work with it. Like the question, what if I take some yellow? And what if I... Let's see, do I have anything in here? Oh, no, we do this. What if I slap some yellow on this fabric? It's got some holes in it, and what is it going to do if I do this? Like, if you have a portion of the piece that is just not working for you, that's the area that you're going to play with. That's the area that you need to lean into the discomfort. Lean into, I really don't like this part. And there's freedom in that space to go, all right, well, what can we do to try and add a little bit more interest? Now, other areas that might not need touching, like this right here, or for right now, this is really interesting to me, and I'm gonna be less in a hurry to add more to here. I'm just gonna sit with it, kind of like an active meditation. So we'll take a little bit of this primary yellow, and I'm going to, instead of dabbing that whole thing out, I'm going to just kind of blend this around a little bit, distribute this a little bit more, and then, we'll just try adding a little bit of texture. And we can even use that texture as movement. So we can go, what if I just did a little bit here, kind of fill in some of that gap, that negative space with the yellow, since I've got that opening. I just said that I was not going to mess with this area, and here I am messing with that area. It's okay to contradict yourself. It's okay. It's okay to suddenly hold a different idea, different than what you may have even held just a few weeks ago. If you always have the same perspective, you always have the same belief, always the same line of thinking, you're not growing. You're just a stagnant mess, a stagnant hot mess, stuck in certainty. And certainty is certainty is less useful. Oh, by the way, we are now listening to music from my dear friend Paul Baudouin. He is a very talented artist. I believe he's a visiting professor at the country of Estonia. He's actually originally from the United States. And he's also a very talented sound designer and musician. Very talented and gifted composer as well. All right. One of the things I want to do, let's do this. We're going to break a little white into this, and I'm going to split here. Oh, let's do this. Let's try. We're just going to do a thin layer of white. And we're going to start right about here and go break that up a little. And then we'll add a little bit more movement. This time we're going to add it just to maybe a small fragment here. And just go like that. So now we've suddenly introduced a little bit of relationship and depth between these lines. So this line is now hidden behind this line, and this line is behind that line. So there's a little bit of play with depth. I'm not really sold on this portion yet, so I might do something like this. Well, that did not produce the result I was thinking. So let's What if? What if we brought in some silver? This poor paint tube or jar or whatever is so awkward. The cap is broken, so I've had to use this little foam thing to kind of fill in as the sealant. So this could potentially be awkward and messy. That's okay. This makes it fun. So I think we'll go a little bit of downward movement. All right, let's see if we can get some silver on here without getting it everywhere, especially with my tremors. My tremors just make it notoriously difficult sometimes to be a little bit more orderly about how I do things. Talk about an area that's difficult to be grateful for. How do you be grateful? How do I be grateful for my tremor condition? I guess I can be grateful that it's not as bad as some people have it. But that to me feels like a lesser gratitude. That feels more like, well, I'm glad I don't have it as bad as so-and-so. Well, that's not nearly as fun or productive. How can I be grateful for the fact that my hands shake involuntarily? Well, here's one possibility. Is that like the suspense? One area of possible gratitude of having the tremor condition is that it affords me the appreciation for those that can do straight lines, freehand. And I can respect the talent and the hard work and the patience that goes into that practice. It's not easy to draw consistently, to draw straight, to have the same abilities to draw consistently. All right. The other thing I feel like it's taught me is, and that I'm grateful for, is that if I embrace it, it provides interesting opportunities for patterns to emerge. Let me see if I can do this without... Like I showed these earlier, I think, at the beginning of the stream, exploring and leaning into my tremors. Like, these are all just natural lines from the tremor, but they kind of, when juxtapositioned to something that looks pure and perfect, there is a contrast and energy about this that is a little bit interesting to me, and I would love to try and explore that on a larger level, a larger scale. All right, so we're going to set that aside, and we're going to go back to these two smaller pieces, and start thinking about the relationships here. Actually, I'm going to move you aside so I can just focus on one at a time. All right. Let's think about this. Not think. Let's absorb this. Where's our movement? There seems to be like a collision here. There's movement that feels like this way and this way. Maybe that's less interesting. Maybe if we find a way to further enhance this downward movement. So let's take some white. Where is my white? There it is. Excuse me. Woo-hoo. And we're just going to... You know what? Why am I doing this straight out of the tube? I went to the effort of grabbing both my matte and gloss medium. I don't know why I'm not using that. Go figure. Go figure. Well, that's okay. Well, we're going to continue being defiant instead of using the medium. The medium adds a little bit more depth to it. And if you're like, well, what does that do? It adds a little bit more life and dimension to the pigment. And then we will kind of sparsely add a little bit here, and then we'll maybe come across like that. Oh, that was kind of not a great line. And then let's break up some of this. Just break it up just a little bit. Oh, that's kind of interesting. A little bit. Yeah, alright, this is starting to look a little bit more interesting. I'm going to shadow this upward movement and go right here. Yeah, kind of like that. In a way, it kind of also frames the picture a little bit, but the one thing that this one lacks is a central point of interest. Or not central, but a singular point of interest. Maybe that will show itself eventually. As we do, now we have established some movement, but maybe the center point of interest, maybe something that we just completely disrupt this square flow, this kind of like this, you might even call this like circular thinking. Maybe I could come in down from here, disrupt all this darkness, and something there. So that's an idea. I'm not going to judge it as either a really good or bad idea. It's just an idea. That's all these are, just ideas. Playing with ideas, playing with... God, Paul Baudouin, your stuff is so cool. I don't think he's watching here on Twitch, but in the event that someday he does or whatever, I really like his music. He's become a really good, dear friend to me, and it's got a very interesting story. He's been through his own heartache and struggles, and not only in the areas of self-acceptance, but dealing with the rejection from others. And like he, not to use this as a platform to talk about him, but his part of his story is really inspiring and interesting to me. He, in his academic life, he studied art and music. Actually, mostly music. He did initially study art, but there was one lady when, I don't know if she was a professor or whatever, but he entered his stuff into an exhibit, and this lady picked apart his paintings, was merciless about it, and saying, "Oh, your brush strokes are all wrong. Like, Paul, you are not an artist." That's what she said to him. It's like, you are not an artist. And it was like a sucker punch to him. And I think he stopped painting for a while, and so he in turn leaned into his music as an outlet, but he, talking about trading hurt for hurt, he used his music as a means of trying to get back at the people that hurt him by showing how superior he was, or how, like, he that's probably the wrong word, but trying to assert himself, it's probably the more correct understanding, but wanting to really get back at the people. And so, like, for one of his final projects, he made this amazing classical composition for, I don't know if it was chamber music, or I think it was chamber music, and one of the promises was that as a senior, as a final project, you would get to have your music performed. And well, he made his music so complex and difficult. It was his vision, but the artists that came to perform his piece couldn't do it. They couldn't play it. It was like, this is too difficult. And that, for him, was a temporary feeling of pride that, look what I've done, look what I've accomplished. But that stuff is never lasts as a source of gratitude, as a source of I don't know, a source of self-esteem. But years later, he was painting again. I don't remember what led to him desiring to paint again, but he started painting again. And a friend of his saw his work. It was on a much smaller scale, and she was like, "Hey, Paul, do you think you could reproduce that, but at a much larger scale?" And he's like, "Yeah, of course." And I don't know if it was just that one piece, or if it was multiple pieces, but she ended up being instrumental in helping. This is some other lady, obviously, not the one that belittled him. But this lady gave him this incredible once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to have his work shown, and it was at this prestigious event, and it led to other opportunities for him, and he's still making art now, and he's really been finding his voice and his means of expression, and his life, his road was not easy. But talk about gratitude. Even the difficult moments that he experienced, the completely unskillful lady that told him that he was not an artist, that still led to him ultimately becoming an artist. And now he's got a pretty sweet gig in Estonia. I think he's a visiting professor. I'm getting this wrong, I'm almost certain, because my ability to recall information is not that great. But interesting. Oh. Okay. But yeah, exactly to your point. Awesome second wind. It's a great revival for him. And sometimes the really awful circumstances in life can lead to some amazing second winds, amazing opportunities to learn and grow, or to express, and you never know. And let's break this up. Let's break this party up. Oh, that's happy accident. I love how this was all one movement here, but that went right into that line. I like that. All right. Let's sit with this one for a bit here. We got some orange and some pink, magenta actually, yellow, black, and a little bit of black and white, a little bit of gray. Where is our movement? I think we have like this movement across the page and then up. There's some subtle background movement. I need to find a way. I think we need to do some differentiation in these layers here. So we're gonna maybe bust out the primary red, which is over here. Where are we at? It's 2:30 my time. I'm just gonna put just a really light dip of it, and we're gonna make this level sink underneath that. Let's see if what happens if we go like this. That's kind of interesting. A little bit. So now we have 2 levels. This orange against that orange. I think I want to repeat that over here. You know, I don't at any one point want to pretend that by being grateful for difficult things, that's going to just make things magically easier. Because it doesn't. Life doesn't just magically get better and easier if you're grateful. However, one other possibility is that it does teach us that there are a whole host of other possibilities. There are other perspectives, other things worth considering. And that oftentimes the cyclical thinking that we get caught up in is not the only way of thinking. And maybe this is just me, sometimes we hold those wounds as precious. And we cling to our wounds for whatever reason. There's another layer. Lots of layers. I don't know. Does that resonate with you guys? Holding your wounds is precious. Maybe it doesn't. Maybe it's just my sick, twisted, demented mind and how it processes trauma and things. But I don't know. There's a balance to be had between gratitude and seeing things for how they really are. And part of that, I think, just comes with, how do I say this? With becoming comfortable with the discomfortable, with discomfort, with unease, with becoming more accepting of the way life is, the difficulty of life. Life is not easy. Some people are just hardwired for positivity. And those people make me, I get really just like, oh my God, how can you be so positive? I had a friend like that years ago that their ability to be positive about everything was obnoxious. But, some people, when you're just hardwired that way, it's kind of hard to be other than that. The difficult thing is that it becomes a little bit more of a challenge to be, I would think, to become empathetic towards other people's plights and situations. I don't know. Yeah, not familiar with the whole concept of it. Yeah, it's. I think some of that just comes with growing up with dysfunction. People with healthier family systems or healthier perspectives probably don't deal with that nearly as much, about holding on to your wounds as something precious. And it's not like precious like a jewel, but it's something that you overly identify with your pain. You overly identify with your trauma, with your physical or medical condition, with your state of being. You know, it's when we draw our identity from those negative things. That's what I'm really talking about. Where instead of identifying yourself more broadly with that, these things that I wrestle with, well, that's just one part of me. It's not the whole, you know. So that's, I guess, what I'm talking about when people overly identify with their trauma or their shortcomings. All right, what are we going to do this? I'm not even sure what's happening with this. What is going on here? I mean, this is just a sketch pad, so there is no pressure. There doesn't have to be anything going on with it. It's, you know, it is just play. But what the heck is going on here? I don't know. It is a hot mess. There is no central movement, and maybe that's one problem. Maybe we need some sort of... Let's do... How are we? Is this all dry? Alright, let's do something. Let's do something bold. Something dastardly. Something unexpected. Let's... Let's do this. We're gonna... should we make that the center of interest or that? Let's do that. We'll go here. Now, I'm going to completely go against Gwen Fox's... One of the things that she says is that triangles are problematic. And her reasoning is, she's not wrong, but I think we're gonna try something here. Just laying down some thin layers of masking tape just to try and avoid getting paint all over the other paint. I'm not sure what I'm going to do. I might do silver. Oh, we'll see. We'll see where this lands. You say, I mean, one point of view could be you hold on to it because it inevitably it shaped who you are today. It does shape you. And that in itself points to a wider reality that we don't often see. And that is that just the simple fact that you can change your mind. You can change your opinion. You can change your beliefs. You can just change. You don't have to be the same. You don't have to be identified with your trauma. You don't have to be identified with your pain. I mean, you can. Some people have made whole careers off of their trauma or their pain, or, you know. It's not that it's... Let's see, is that going to be... Yeah, that might be wide enough. Okay. So it's not that it's wrong to... You know what? I want to use the cardboard. Yeah, we're going to use the cardboard. it's not that it's wrong to try and make money off of your pain or build your career off of trauma that you've experienced or things like that. It's just simply that, it's just your choice. Do you want to feel locked in by that? Do you want to feel locked in by trauma? Do you want to feel locked in for the rest of your life to being identified with this? Or do you want to be the manifestation of limitless possibilities? I don't know if this is going to turn out or not. It doesn't matter if it does or does not. It's just, this is my constant reminder to myself. This is just play. This is my 5-year-old self finally having permission to just paint whatever the hell I want to. Doesn't matter if it's fine art or not. Doesn't matter if it's gonna be in a gallery or not. Doesn't matter if it's not worth, hundreds of dollars or will ever be sold or ever be seen or appreciated. Doesn't fucking matter. Sorry for my language. It doesn't matter. Because one of the things I have learned is that that child inside of you is still there. That child inside of you that maybe was told you're not good enough. That child that was told, you'll never amount to anything. Or, those ideas are terrible. Or, that drawing is, That child is still there. Still inside you. It's part of who you are, and I feel that more than anything, that child just wants to be free. That child wants to play. Add in 5 seconds, so I'm going to hold off on that thought. So I will keep painting here, but I'm going to probably stop talking. We're going to hold on to that thought about being a child in our artist self. So if I do forget my train of thought, you can help remind me. I think we're going to continue that theme of arrows. Like that. "29 seconds. All right. Oh, yeah, there's some wet paint still. That's all right. It's okay. It's all right. It's all right, man. 12 seconds. 10. I can't even begin to tell you can't even begin to tell you how obnoxious the ads are on Twitch. Like, and I don't know if it's just me and what I'm exposed to, but the ads are like mostly video games. So like if you are in a stream like this that's really chill, low-key, relaxed, and then suddenly, you know, some ad for a first-person shooter video game, it's just like, whoa, dude, too much. Oh my god. Pi 9. How are you, my friend? It's so nice to see you. Oh my. So we are playing today. We're giving our inner artist child self the excuse to play. And we're talking about gratitude. So that's our theme for today. So good to see you, 9. I think about you a lot. I think about you a lot. Yes, I mean, technically there are ways to disable the ads. But I'm not that smart. Nice to see you here. I'm terrifically bad on getting... Don't worry about it. You don't need to apologize for not being on YouTube. It's in the same way that I generally don't come back to Twitch for entertainment. Largely because a lot has really changed in my life, and dramatically so. YouTube's hard. Twitch for me is hard. Everyone has that one thing that they just, you know, they just can't do, or is very difficult for them to do. It just so happens that YouTube happened to be the perfect platform to, no, I can't say perfect, to be a suitable platform for promoting other artists' music, which is really all which is really the main driving spirit behind my show, The Relay Station. It's really changed from, hey, look at me, I'm a musician, listen to me, pay attention to me, buy my music, all the things, and switched it more to, you know, there are a lot of people struggling to be heard. You know, there's a lot of people that would love nothing more than to someone to come along and go, you know what? I listened to your album and it just really knocked it out of the park for me, or it really made a difference in my life, or helped me through this one phase in life, or whatever. And YouTube has been a great platform for doing that. Not perfect, but good enough. And in the course of the 2 years that I've been, is it 2 years? Two and a half years that I've been on YouTube. It's been a great opportunity to really give my love and my appreciation and toward other musicians and other artists, and cultivating a community out of that is supportive, where people feel heard. One of the practices that I've started is I call them the featured album segments, and there's 2 60-second ads that I do, promotional ads for other people's albums. So when someone has a new album that I feel is like, oh my gosh, people need to know about this, I do these on a weekly basis for the program, and so it airs both on the show as well as posts on the socials, and some of these artists that are just as obscure as I am, when they receive something like that, that's like where someone gives a detailed description of why their creation is beautiful, it really moves people. It really touches people, and I've made some really fantastic friends that way. And here's the beautiful byproduct of it, is that oftentimes those people, when they know that their stuff is appreciated, they reciprocate. They give back. They're just like, so some of these same people that I've been promoting and supporting and showing love for, whenever I have a new release out and we have a listening party, a lot of those people show up. And, you know, sometimes they don't, because everyone has busy lives. We have so much going on, but they've been, reciprocating. So, yeah. So getting caught up on chat here. I'm bummed that Live Space didn't work out. I had high hopes, but it's tough to compete with Google and Amazon. Oh, yeah. Amazon and Google can go bite themselves. And then those that find random overnight, well, seemingly overnight success, sometimes describe how that has hidden negatives that people don't always consider. That is true. Because there is the other end of the equation, is when all of the other people, they're like, well, but my stuff is just as good. How come nobody notices? Or, why am I not viral? Or why am I not catching on, or whatever? Or why are people not buying my music? And it leads to a lot of, feelings of inadequacy. One woman I found on YouTube made a video describing how doing shorts was a bad choice for her, even though it brought her that viral success. Yes. Because how often does that pigeonhole you into something you don't want to do? There's one artist I found on YouTube, and she only makes videos on YouTube once in a while. It's usually around a specific type of content, but she has vowed to not even play the game, period. So if she engages on social media, it's for a very specific purpose, and it's not to play the game as the social networks want us to play. So she doesn't regularly churn out content. She's not using the short form stuff. Most of her stuff is long form tutorials, but she's built her community centered around her website and her mailing list, things that she can control. And she's all about slow growth, building relationships one person at a time. And it's that slow paying attention to individuals. When you're building relationships, one-on-one relationships with the people, those people end up becoming your biggest, most loyal fans, because they know you care about them, or there's a relationship there. And most of the people that buy her art are those very people that she's cultivating these relationships with. So, to that end, she is successful. Not in the ways that we commonly associate with success: viralness, selling all of the things, and, being wildly monetarily successful. Those are all rules and systems that someone else made. It's like, why are we playing? We're all in this huge sandbox. It's this massive global-sized sandbox, and why do we have to play by the rules of the biggest, fattest cats on the playground? Amazon, Google, Meta. Why do we have to play by the rules? Fuck them. Sorry for the language. Play by our own rules. This is our own game. And And there is a sort of freedom in that. Yes, it makes you an outcast, because now you have to figure these things out for yourself. You have to figure out for yourself why in what you do. And a lot of people don't stop to ask the question, why am I doing this? Like, when I was streaming more regularly on Twitch, I didn't really have that crystallized in my head. Why am I doing this? Why am I doing weird things just because someone gives me bits or subscribes or does whatever? You know, why do I gotta read from the dictionary when someone puts in channel points? Why? Because Twitch is saying more or less that you have to do these things in order to be noticed and successful on Twitch. But that's, so what? Who cares? Who cares about being successful on Twitch? I would rather be successful here and here. That success to me is not about how many units I can sell. He said units. Yeah, of course, some people enjoy being a clown, and that's you know, that's their gift, that's their talent, that's their mojo. Mommy, you're not a unit. But when you discover for yourself the deeper why, and for me, it was uncovering, literally quite uncovering, like, if you think about who we are as people, when we start out in our childhood, we are the essence of innocence, we are the essence of creativity, we are the essence of asking, what happens if? There's mystery and play and intrigue and exploration. And over time, all of that gets buried with life obligations. And yeah, we aren't afraid yet of our own potential. The question, what if, is not a scary question at all. But we get, all of that gets buried under family systems, under religious systems, under the schools we went to, the friends we had, the mortal enemies that we had, the people that belittled us, all of the hurt, the other things, and all of that just gets piled on to who we are. And so now, like when I first started out on Twitch, that's where I was. That was the state. I was just this little soul somewhere within it all, with all of this baggage and not a clear understanding of, why am I doing this? Why am I making music? The idea of making music was all centered around, I want someone to notice me. It took therapy for me to find that out. My therapist really helped me work through a lot of that stuff and realize, oh my gosh, I am still that 5-year-old wanting to be noticed. Wanting to be seen, to be important, wanting to be seen as more than just that nerdy, geeky kid that's awkward and dresses weird and has weird hair and glasses and super nerdy and geeky and awkward and super socially awkward. But to see beyond all that, that I am an expression of the universe. You are an expression of the universe. You're a manifestation of stardust into this limitless possibility that just happens to also have all this stuff that's just stacked on you. And so part of life and therapy and art is peeling back all of the layers that have been caked on us and discovering the simplicity of I am part of the universe. And part of my job as being a human being is to ask the question, what happens if? And to look upon things that I've looked with calloused eyes and look upon things anew with fresh eyes and wonder and dream about the possibility, which has been transformative now I make music because it simply pleases me, and it's a delight to interact with my world and with the universe and to create something out of nothing. I love improv music so much because it is, to me, the quintessence of life. Life is like this moment is filled with infinite possibilities right now. And possibilities of going this direction or that direction or trying this thing or that thing. Are you going to fuck up? Yes. We're going to get stuff wrong. But that's okay. We learn from it. We find ingratitude, learning from all of these experiences and going, well, yeah, that didn't work out great. So what can we do differently next time? Or is there some technique that I should be practicing more? Or, being a little bit more playful about it and less serious. That's why one of the reasons that's why I've stopped selling my music or stopped charging for it. Like, you can get my entire catalog, hint, hint, for free out at stolus.bandcamp.com. You can download the whole thing. In fact, it was really hilarious. One guy bought my entire catalog for 99 cents. I wish him the moon with that catalog for 99 cents. I hope, upon all hopes, that it inspires him or helps heal him or whatever. And so it's, the old me would have just been livid at the idea of giving up my music for 99 cents. But that was all wrapped up in the condition of feeling that my self-worth is attached to the monetary value of my music, or how well it streams, or how many people listen to it. When we mix our self-worth in with what we do, it's a tough proposition. It's a tough proposition. And that's why I think it behooves us to try and distill life down into much more simplistic ideas and remove all of the adult layers that we've slapped on things, the feeling that we've got to make a buck off of everything. I'm not saying that people shouldn't sell their art or sell their wares or whatever. It's just a much more complicated system for that child artist self within you to navigate, because there's lots of pitfalls, there's lots of minefields and hidden traps of getting caught up in the numbers. Oh, how come my stuff isn't selling? Or if you find success, great. If you're selling stuff at amazing rates and then you start to attach your sense of worth and your sense of self to that success. One of the things, though, that I've learned from my modest and humble studies of the Buddha and Buddhist teachings is that success is one of what he calls the 8 worldly winds. And it's the 8 worldly winds are basically 8 different categories of things that we tend to gravitate towards or tend to cling to in hopes that we will become happy. And one of them is success, or being viewed favorably. And invariably, even the success that we experience will one day pass away. And if it doesn't pass away in our lifetime, it will pass when we pass. Because you can't carry the success with you beyond the grave. Regardless of what you think about the afterlife, whether or not there is one, it's kind of irrelevant. The reality is that at some point, this manifestation of Stolas, Michael Tangen, whatever, will eventually, my corporal parts will disperse. And the elements will return to the earth, will return to the atmosphere, and this manifestation will vaporize, and the energy, the potential that was here will also be dispersed. I mean, if you think about this is why I love quantum physics. I don't know anything about quantum physics because it's super, super heady. But I really, really, really love the cutting edge ideas that are coming out of it, that underneath the fabric of it all, underneath the molecules and the atoms, down on these quark particle levels, you've got these electrons that could be millions of miles apart, and you could stimulate one, and light years, thousands, millions of light years away, that particle pair receives instantaneous stimulus. Like, how is that not freaking amazing? And those particles, we are made up of those particles. Those little quark things that inside us that, when you get that little tingly sense that someone is thinking about you, or you have a kind of a sense of intuition about something, is it no surprise that maybe it's a series of stimulus from some other quark particle somewhere else in the universe, that something else is going on, and it resonates with us, and it stimulates us, and it excites us, and you're like, oh, someone must be thinking of me. And it's true. I need to get caught up in chat. Let me see what we got going on here. 9, you're all sorts of conversation. I love it. Let's see, or we've been punished for that curiosity, unfortunately. Yeah, I had some very bad experiences like that in school. I was teased mercilessly for liking school. I feel that. Lots of people seeking validation through skills and talents, accomplishments, titles, etc. We are pretty miraculous. It's true. I get in trouble for giving so much of my crochet stuff away, especially with my husband. Yep, I get it. I understand he feels my art is worth charging for. It's really an expression of how much he admires my skill and passion, but I don't care about profiting from it 100% of the time. Not everything needs to be monetized. Oh, right. I know you're saying something based off of what I said, but yes. Not everything has to be monetized. Yeah, if it wanes, that can be really hard to navigate unless you remember to look at the big picture. Depends on what you mean by success. That's one of my favorite quotes from Danny Thomas. Success has nothing to do with what you gain in life or accomplish for yourself. It's what you do for others. Ooh, I like that. I like that because it turns it more to an outward expression. The success is nothing to do with me, with you, with the things that we do, the things that we think or perceive, and how it all manifests into what we create. But real success, I think, in part, is how well, let's see how I can synthesize this. I gotta think about this. I really struggle with the concept of success anyways, because success invariably requires you to compare, to judge. You're immediately judging yourself or your expression or your actions, your speech against some other standard, real or otherwise. You want something, all right, here, I've got a piece. It's really just play and experimentation. I've been working on trying to synthesize my struggle with essential tremors into art. Like, how can I communicate what it's like to struggle with this? And I have this idea, this concept in my head of, let's see, are we all dry here? Yeah, we're dry. All right. This idea of, here, let me switch views so you can see this. The idea of the juxtaposition of perfect, or the perception of perfect. Let me move this up closer so you can actually see this, with the imperfect. Come on, focus. It's struggling because of the lines. You can see my tremor condition. But you can see the lines are just, this is my attempt to draw straight lines carefully, unaided by a ruler or any other device, just a dip pen and ink and trying to draw straight lines. And this juxtaposition of this feeling, this standard of perfect versus what it really is. You know, the way it really is like. And to me, that's just, there's just a lot of powerful possibility in that juxtaposition. And so I've been playing around with different ideas that represent that. Like different directional strokes in when I draw actually has different levels of complexity. Like if I draw from left to right, it's my most dominant ability to draw something straight. I have a lot more control. Almost the same with going from top to bottom. However, if I try and draw against the grain by drawing from bottom to top, that's where the real struggle comes in. Like, it becomes really obvious, really obvious how... See, now you can even see the tremor. In that is a frequency. There's a frequency of energy that's churned out from the brain through the nervous system and into my extremities. It's like this pulse of and it's the brain's inability to regulate that energy. And so that juxtaposition to this perfect line that was only accomplished by simply taping this off and a nice solid wash of red ink. You know, that to me, this is the struggle of tremors, of having a tremor condition. I will never, ever be able to reach perfection, not without medical aid, without a device, whatever. You know, and here's another concept of the idea of circles and trying to draw both counterclockwise and clockwise and the challenge of both of those directions. You can even see in some of the lines the frequency, the little and it's I would love to figure out how that can be quantified as like an electrical signal. Like how could this be interpreted in terms of like a frequency, like, you know, 932 hertz or something like that, where can that be synthesized? I mean, that's really comes down to what a lot of treatments are nowadays, the less invasive ones where you might have an assistive device that you wear. There's one that I would love to get, but it's $7,000 and a near $200 a month subscription fee. But the device, it has, like, I don't even know how to describe it. It has within it this device that reads the frequency at which your tremor is moving at. And then, much like the noise cancellation feature in our phones nowadays, it cancels out the frequency of the tremor. So as that frequency is traveling through your nervous system, the device sends a current through that is the opposite of that current. And then, straight hand, you can draw straight lines, all the things, and have complete control of your extremities. But I can't afford $7,000 and a $200 subscription fee. And the only reason why it's that expensive is because this particular company, had to fund their entire research in order to get FDA approval. And because the FDA approval process is extremely rigorous, you're spending millions and millions and millions of dollars in the hopes that you'll get FDA approval. And so, unfortunately, then that price tag gets passed on to the consumer, the people who need it most. And talk about gratitude. There are people that have tremors that are in a much better position, much worse position than I am. Like, there are some people where this is how bad their tremors are. They can't even hold the cup straight. They're spilling liquids. They struggle to eat, So there's people who have it much worse than I do. There are other devices that are possibly promising, not as pricey, but the trade-off is like, oh boy, that's awkward. There's one device I saw is basically a sleeve that goes from like about halfway up your hand all the way down to about your elbow, and on it is this huge hockey puck sized thing. It's a gyroscope that has a series of cables and wires, and it goes to another huge battery pack. It's just this monstrosity of a device. I think it's like $700 for it. It works probably more so for people who have more extreme cases, but it's the same concept as the noise cancellation. It's with a gyroscope, it centralizes the movement. It controls the movement in such a way where it's all, it's kind of like a gib or jib, the device that you use in film for holding it's like a steady cam kind of thing. So anyway, oh Jesus, 9, it's so nice to see you. I know you got to go. It's a lot to ask for people to stick around for even a fraction of the stream. Nice to see you. Many blessings to you and your family, and I just wish you guys well. And I've been thinking about you a lot, so be good. It's nice to see you. Take care. All right, so let's get on subject with the art. Let's look at what we've got going on here, and one at a time. Where are we at? We're at about 3:20-ish. My tea is running low. Yes, and happy holidays to you too. May they be stress-free as best as they can. Well, I liked this bringing Let's go back to proper view. I liked bringing the silver arrow. Like, this cuts across everything and leads you into the side of the page. There is sort of a support for that movement in this direction. Maybe I'd like to try and find a way to... So maybe this kind of has a direction of movement like that. Maybe something to reinforce the movement up at a diagonal and then over. Kind of give you... I don't know. Maybe it could even be just a simple line. Oh. What if... There's that question again. What if... Where's my blue painter's tape? Where are you at? They're hiding underneath. Well, that's so nice to see 9 again. I do, on some level, miss the more continual camaraderie that I've had with 9 and Calyx Creative and Kat and other people. But I really have to say that I don't miss giving all of my time to Twitch. I really don't. It's not that giving your time to Twitch is wrong. It's just not. It's just kind of comes down to what do you want to do with your life, your time, and given my animosity towards capitalism and corporate America in general, it just doesn't suit me to be spending so much time on any of the platforms, really. This would include Instagram, even my time on YouTube, even though that's the platform that I've made as the dominant platform for the relay station. It really doesn't serve me in the long run. It only serves the platform to be on the platform. There's the conundrum. We want the attention. We want to be perceived and liked and received, and we don't want to be invisible. We're afraid of being invisible. You know what? I want to scratch this up. I'm going to scratch this up because I want to add some more texture. And so this isn't so straight and plasticky. So we're just going to take this X-Acto knife, kind of rough up the edges a little bit. It's a good thing my T is up there and not down here. Otherwise I'd be consuming plastic shards. Actually, let's roughen that up a little bit too. So that will, I think, produce more interesting results and less uniform. Alright, let's see what happens. Let's take... Since in this book, yellow is not very dominant, let's go with yellow. Where's my yellow paint? You're around here somewhere. Come out wherever you are. What did I do with my yellow paint? Tell you, this is the challenge. Oh, there it is. Not where I would have probably opted to put you in the first place. See, there's the frequency I was telling you about. I don't know if you can see this very well, but there's a waviness to the line that even in trying to hold this card straight, there's a waviness to the pattern, you know? And that's my tremors. I can't, I don't know, I just gotta make peace with it. That's the hard thing, is you know, you have a disability or a shortcoming, or character flaw, or propensity toward certain ideas or certain ways of thinking. And one idea that my therapist helped me realize through and work through is, you know, I spend so much of my life trying to push out and change these facets about who I am, instead of just accepting that this is a part of the package deal. Like, as a person who cares deeply, I like to think that I'm a caring person. I invariably am going to care about things that I should not be caring about. The impressions of other people, or how people are going to perceive my art or my music. Or I'm going to care too deeply about how some people just do a terrible job at recycling or caring for the planet or whatever. And that's just part of the package deal of being me. I care, sometimes to a fault. That's not to say that, you know, I can't change that, but there's always going to be a facet of me that takes the caring just a little bit too far to things that don't matter. All right, I like that line. It gives me movement, and because it's open-ended over here, there is some sort of at least like a, I don't know. It's something. It's a good start. I like that it sort of balances out the silver line, because there's an openness over here and an openness over here. There's a little bit of sort of symmetry. Well, what do we do with this? What do we do? Let's bring in some orange. I know that we have blended the orange, but I think I want to make some of this orange more pronounced. Let's do this. Let's put a slab of orange here. And we're just going to go like this. Oh, we might need to put on a lot more for that to really stand out. You know what? The orange is not going to work. That's not going to work. We might need to do something more drastic. Maybe we bring the yellow back. Let's do that. Let's do that. Let's do this like Fruitus. One other facet of gratitude that I've been learning is And it's not that I've arrived or found the Zen way through. One of the things that I've found in gratitude, though, is that the more you practice it, the more you try and work it into your everyday life, into your decisions, into how you view other people, the more you can actually shape the world around you. Like, even like if you go around life kind of pretty pessimistically, oh, I like that yellow over the white. People tend to perceive you that way and maybe act in turn. Thinking right now. But what happens if you change that about yourself? What happens if you practice more gratitude and people around you start responding differently? And in turn, your world starts to change a little bit. I've seen this in different areas of my life where I've started to try and practice more gratitude. And, while I haven't noticed night and day differences, I have noticed differences in how people feel the waves of your own change, feel the movement of your own change, your own adjustments in your own attitude or approach to life or how you view things. And if there are people that genuinely like being around you and have been behaving a certain way because of how the old way you used to do things, but then see the change in you, and if it's consistent and you're continually trying your best or whatever, that has rippling effects. Whoa, everything's black and white. Let's try that again. Or that one instead. Actually, that's kind of cool. I forgot that I had the black and white version of this. I think this is for performing, But the black and white's kind of interesting. This is actually a really good way to judge contrast and value in your work. Like, now that I'm looking at this piece, all of the contrast is here and a little bit here, but all of this and all this up here, so similar in value, which that's a good indicator to maybe break that up a little. Interesting. What does Bob Ross say? There's no such thing as mistakes, only happy accidents. He's right. He was so right. Even that mistake in the portrait of my daughter, that led to some really provoking moments in therapy, and really seeing just how deeply it runs the nature of the struggle of being kind to oneself, of me being kind to myself. So let's do this. I've been neglecting my palette. And let's do a darker red. So let's take a little bit of this red. Oh, hello. That's a lot. It's way more than I need. And I'm gonna mix a little bit of purple. I know it's not in the palette. I know it's not. Fight me. I don't want to mix it entirely with black. You gotta add a little bit of pigment to go with it. But I will add a touch of black. Just a small fragment. And then let's add in a little matte medium for added depth and dimension. Boop, 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 which is also ironically going to lighten things up a little. So maybe it's good to have a little bit of that. To counteract some of the black and the deep purple. And let's just see what we get here. Again, this is play and experimentation. I know that purple is going to send this in the right darkness direction, but I'm not 100% sure yet. I mean, the people who are really good with color theory and working with color on the palette are people who simply have practiced and practiced and practiced and practiced and played and played and played. Because you can read about it all you want. You can look at all the books on color theory, you can watch all the videos, but ultimately you still have to put in the time of mixing paint and mixing pigments and see what you get. So let's think about this. I do want to add, all right, I'm going to need to stabilize my hand here. Well, that took that in a different direction. I'm not, if I'm 100% sold on it. Not sure. Not sure. Not entirely sure. But that is all right. That suddenly got interesting. It's now suddenly an entirely different piece with that purple. I don't necessarily think it's great, but it's what if? What if? I mean, suddenly now it has texture and dimension that it didn't have before. I'm not 100% sold on it, but you know, never know until you try, right? Right. Yeah, that is an entirely different piece now. It's not at all the same. It is a little muddy, so we're going to have to work with that. I'm going to let this dry, because I think now I want to come back at it with more yellow and maybe some of that orange. Like this right here is a hot mess. This is a hot mess. Like, let's break this up with a little solid mess here. Let's break this up with a solid mess. So nice to see 9. Oh my gosh. I had nearly forgotten. So I saw you there in the stream. Was it last night? Yeah, it was last night. Or was it Friday? I don't remember. Yeah, one of those nights. Oh my goodness. I had nearly forgotten how ADHD her channel is. Oh my gosh. Talk about chaotic energy. It's so much fun. I can't do a steady diet of that though. Oh my goodness. That is a lot. All right. I'm going to set that aside because it needs space. All right. What am I going to work with? You have been neglected far too long. You have been neglected far too long. Well, let's bring some red in. I'm feeling we need a good swath of red. But we're going to do this differently. I think we're going to do this. You know what? Let's even bring a little bit of this purple in. And we're just going to load up this steel wool. Slap that on right there. Huh. That's not how I thought it was going to come out. That's something. That's also something. What if we... I don't know. Not sure if I like it. Not sure if I like it. Not sure. Not sure. Nope. I don't like it. Well, that's kind of fun. May not result in anything cool, but it's nice to take out a little aggression on the paper every now and Because why the hell not? It's my rules. My piece of paper. I don't care how seasoned you are as an artist. You can't tell me I'm wrong. I didn't say that it was a perfect piece of art or that it's working as an, it's going to be a masterpiece. But it's like, yeah, you can't tell me that this is not fun. Maybe not fun to watch as much, but this is where showing yourself kindness, empathy for the 5-year-old inside of you that just wants to finger paint all day long. When's the last time There's a good question. When is the last time that you let yourself finger paint? When is the last time that you have doppled up a bunch of paint on your hands and just said, you know what? I'm going to paint with my fingers, so I don't care that I have brushes that are $20, $30, $40. You're 300 years old? Jeez. I didn't think you were that old. And who cares if it doesn't look right? Who cares? I don't know. I don't care. Don't got any fucks to give. Got any fucks to give. All right. Now, that does pose a slight problem in being able to handle your implements without getting paint everywhere. Skynet. Now, wouldn't that be something if we truly were inside the Matrix? That this lived experience that we have is just imaginary. Now, certainly not out of the question. Why is it not out of the question? Because a lot of Eastern traditions, Buddhism, Hinduism, Taoism, point to a reality that the story that we believe about ourselves, about the world, is just a story that's concocted in our head. We project onto people our narrative. We tend to see people as other, and we finger paint man's flipping awesome. We project onto other people our story. So if we think about ourselves as flawed, we can't help but to see the flaws in other people. Convexly, if we see ourselves as awesome, we might also be more likely to see the awesomeness in other people. Maybe. Let's do this. We're going to be the big bad adult and try and clean up our art. But we're going to work that into the narrative of this. Oh, look at that pattern. Look at the paper towel pattern. Suddenly, now it has an interesting texture. It's no longer just finger paint. Now, I'm going to let this dry. I think what I want to do, what's really calling to me, is I want to take some white, some textured white, and go and to bring some separation back into this, to bring this white value back and to reintroduce it. Because one thing I've learned is that although from a practical color theory standpoint, we tend not to view white and black as colors, because science has said, well, white is the fullness of all light and all color, and black is the absence of all color. But the reality is that that's just a play in value with color, and white itself can be a really powerful accent. It has a way of adding, there's one artist that I've been watching his lecture series on, and he talks about how white can actually subdue really strong tones or strong pieces. And like right now, this feels really strong, like not in a good way, like this is really dominant. But if I brought in some white texture to, like, see how this white really breaks this up, breaks up the intensity, especially here. So this could, maybe if I bring in a little bit of peppered white in here to kind of break this up. Convexly, or conversely, or however you want to say it, black further heightens the contrast and intense colors. And yeah, so this has an interesting possibility. Let's shove it aside. Let's go to my least favorite option of the four. This one I'm just not so fond of yet. Let's bring in this. We're going to bring in some of this purple. Now let's think about this just for a moment. Let's make that silver stand out a little bit more. Oh, too much. But what did we learn from paper towels? Paper towels can be our friends sometimes. Look at that texture. A little bit more purple back in there. Still a hot mess. Still a hot mess. Yeah. That's okay. That's all right. Life can be a hot mess sometimes. And you know what? It's all right. People will never see the layers and layers and layers of mistakes, the layers of trial and error. They only ever see the finished product. But this is art, especially on the abstract level. With experimentation, not everything works out. In fact, there's a lot of stuff that doesn't. Oi. There's a lot that doesn't work out. But where's the journey lead? Where does it take us? What sort of play is next? don't know. It might not lead to anything. It might end up leading me to throwing this thing out. That's okay. Not the end of the world. It's just a piece of paper. Where are we at time? We're at 4 o'clock my time. I'm going to have to wrap this up soon. And that will leave me invariably leaving this in a state of sitting with the feeling of, yeah, that's not great. This is not work I'm proud of. Let's look at something that contrasts that. This is a little bit more interesting to me. I'm not sure I think the finger painting really added much. But there's some sort of interesting movement here. This needs a little bit more help in the layer department. A little bit of added layering. Let's do this. Let's put that in there. I really would love someday to have more space. I would be lying if I didn't look upon other artists that have actual studio space with envy. Really. And it'd be so nice to just have the kind of room to make an absolutely disastrous mess and sprawl. But that is not in the cards right now. But maybe another day. Maybe some other year. When my kids stop being expensive and not paying for so many different activities and things. All right, I was gonna add. Let's bring in. Or what are our dominant colors? White, black, red. We could use more yellow. But I'm going to slightly deviate and use my absolute favorite yellow of all time, cadmium yellow deep hue. This shade of yellow, the camera does not do justice. What about this other camera? Does it do this do better? Can't tell. Let's see. Yeah, this is a little bit more akin to it. This yellow, if you've seen the movie Kill Bill, this is the color of her jumpsuit. It's just, I just love the hue. It's the same exact color as her jumpsuit. Just this bright, vibrant, warm yellow. So we're gonna splatter a little bit of that on. We're gonna kick things up a notch and use some gloss medium. So I'll make it stand out. Slap a little bit of that on the palette. Oh, and I just blew into my microphone. Sorry about that. And then we'll sprinkle a little bit of, maybe no water. So let's take some of this medium and bring it over. We're gonna blend it with the yellow. I'm just gonna spray it with just a little bit of water so it doesn't dry on me right away. Now I'm gonna hold it all the way from the end. just see where this takes us. That's already a different feeling. Let's bring it over a little bit more on top. A little bit of that wavy pattern from my tremors. In a way, it's kind of like a unique signature. That's one way that I'm trying to view this. It's a unique signature that someone else would have a very difficult time trying to replicate on purpose. I like that too. That has suddenly brought the white into balance and the black into balance. There's a little bit more balance of color. I probably didn't need to do that. Let's undo that. Control Z. Command Z. Ollie on Z. I think that's good. No more yellow on that one. Let's go back to this problem child. This has absolutely no balance. It's just this invasive feeling of darkness. What if let's just blend this maybe just a touch more. Now the yellow is pretty dominant. I have an idea though for that. We can reintroduce some of that red and orange. Try and bring some balance into this. All right. Seriously, if I had more working table space, that would be so awesome. So looking at this and thinking of balance, there is not enough yellow. I was going to introduce white. Before I do that, let's do this. We're just going to go straight on yellow. Maybe, yeah, we'll bring in a little gloss medium. Why not? Why the flip not? You know, I have seen videos of other artists that are much messier than I am. There are artists out there where they're, instead of having a nice little glass palette like I have, their palette is literally a chair or the corner of a table or an old dresser or the wall. Seriously. Let's do this. Oh, that's already cool. Yep. That's already more interesting to me. Let's do this. Let's break up this movement here. Anyways, there's one artist, I don't remember. I'm terrible with names, so I would never be able to recall the artist's name. His studio space, which was a flat in the UK, in London, I think it was London. They, like, the rest of his flat, like his living space, was normal. It was clean, pretty well kept. The artist actually had a cleaner that would come and, basically help him clean his house and whatnot. But his studio space that was also in his flat, oh my gosh. Newspapers, art, paint, used canvases, torn canvases, all this material strewn all about his flat. And it, for him, this was his workflow. This was what this is how he made his art, and for him it was just as important a part of the process was the clutter and the mess, and super important for him, and it was part of the components of his art. And so some curator or museum or something, after the man passed, they had meticulously cataloged every single bit of mess, every painting, every glob of paint, every newspaper, every piece of trash, used brush, jars and jars and jars, and they cataloged everything with computers and drafting and all that stuff. They assigned everything a number and a position and where things, and they recreated the man's studio space in a museum, which is just simply remarkable to me. But his space was just, to this artist, his space was just as important as the art itself, because it's how he thought, it's how he processed. And all right, this isn't bad. This is on a good trajectory. I think there's a good balance of color. This is clearly the focal piece, so maybe a splatter of white in here, a little bit more white texture, but I'm going to wait for this to dry. And I'll probably have to finish that off stream. All right. Let's go back to one of our other problem children. This. I think this also needs more yellow. Needs more atomic yellow. I think so. Let's come in off the corner here. I think we need loads more. I think we get some medium still over here that we can work in. That's something. Not sure if I love it let's do kind of the opposite movement here. Right here. That's kind of interesting. I'm going to layer this yellow a little bit thicker here. And then we'll come back at it with a brush like this, like so. Hold it nice and light. One more pass, and then well, not great, but that's okay. I'm not going to judge myself about this. It's just not finished yet. Probably several more layers to be had here. All right. And it brings us back to our last two. This one is still okay. The yellow helped. I'm not sure where to take this. I just need to sit with it. That's what I think. I think I need a little bit of space. And this little problem child. Also not sure what to do with it. Might ditch it, but we'll see. We'll see. I think, though, this one, by far, seems like the stronger candidate of the four. There's a lot of possibility. Let's try one small thing before we wrap this up. Man, I've got a colossal mess to clean up. Let's try a little bit. Jeez. This is why an apron is great. Just wipe it on the apron. You can't do that with oil. You do that with oil paint, that's going to be wet for weeks. Acrylic, this will be dry in a heartbeat. So let's do this. We're going to put down some gloss medium. Not sure how much I'm going to need. That's a good start. And then cap it. And then we're going to dab. Or whatever the movement is. I'm not cool. I'm not hip with all of the young people dancing stuffs. The medium might not work enough. It might need a little bit of white pigment to go with that. Yep. Boo! Alright, now that we got a little pigment, let's mix that in. So now we got white with gloss medium. That'll go a long way towards being impactful. All right, before that dries, let's take a layer off. I kind of like how it wants to arc up a little bit. Just a little. Just a little bit, you know. Because that adds kind of a sense of, oh, you think we're at the end? No, we're not. We're going to move around a little bit. I really like this splatter movement, though. What did we do with that? Oh, that's what we did. We used this thing. More chaotic splatter movement, maybe, is what's called for here. And then, let's do this. A little bit of movement cutting through all that. Well, before we destroy this painting with what if, we're gonna just let that be for now. I think we're gonna let that be. Let it be. Let it sit. Let it sit. Well, I think this is a really good stopping point for me, and I am going to be taking a few weeks off, so I'd maybe have mentioned that I was going to take about like 4 or 5 days off to go on a meditation retreat. That's slightly intimidating for me because these aren't just, you know, sitting for 30 minutes here and 30 minutes there. These are like longer segments of, you know, like 45 minutes of seated meditation, then another 45 minutes of walking meditation, followed by another 45 minutes of seated meditation, and then, you know, Dharma teachings from the instructor, and a lot more intensive an experience. This will be a first for me. That's all right. I'm embracing it, embracing the challenge. So we'll see. I may stream on the 5th, maybe. Depends where I'm at. Actually, maybe not, because I think I got a family gathering that day. So it might end up being the 12th, which is fine. Gives me a couple weeks off, and but yeah, so it's just us, Miro, and maybe someone else, any other people lurking about. I think we lost our original visitors, but see, look at that. love playing with paint. It's fun. It's liberating. Yes, and happy festivities, merry festivities to you. Whatever festivities you want to celebrate. I missed out on celebrating the solstice last night. I bought all these white bags, and I was going to fill them with like candles and light up the walkway and all that stuff, and I never got around to it. Oh well. Well, on that note, the long, awkward Minnesota goodbye. If you're not accustomed to the long, awkward Minnesota goodbye, it's simply the attempt to leave someone's house or someone's party, and you end up standing at the door for another 10 to 15 minutes talking, and during that time, you know, they might offer another cup of coffee or a slice of pie, or it's the inability to just say, yeah, we're done, we got to go home, see ya. And with that, I think I'm done. I have a lot of cleanup work to do, especially my palette's looking pretty nasty. And my fingers. Yeah, that's awesome. Well, on that note, interesting stream today. I didn't finish on a piece that I was like really solidly proud of. These are all works in progress. And oh my goodness, there they are. Hey, high five. High five. So good to see you, man. How the heck are you? How the heck are you? I was talking about you earlier on the stream and it was just reminiscing that because I don't stream Sunday evenings anymore. It's, I see you once in a blue moon, but I still think about you and hope that wherever life has you right now, that you're doing well. Well, on that note, life is a work in progress. That is a great way to end the stream. Life is a work in progress, and we have lots of works in progress, lots of different facets of life that we're still unfolding, trying to figure out. See, now if I'm not careful, I'm going to start waxing philosophical, and we're going to be here for another 45 minutes. But in summary of our topic today of conversation of gratitude and the nature of having, we've got multiple pieces that we started today, and none of them are in a resting spot. They're all in a state of, all right, we need to sit with this for a while, give them some space, and then maybe we'll come at it again with some fresh perspective. And that is part of gratitude. Gratitude is the ability to shift your perspective out of the negative. Like, I could sit and I could go, oh my God, this piece is terrible. It is. But if I stay here, stay in this, oh my God, this is terrible. What was I doing? What was I thinking? It doesn't give me the opportunity to go, well, all right, what did I learn from this? What are some things that this taught me? Or maybe it's not done yet. Maybe it just needs time for that messiness to just sit and chill and allow me my own time to create spaciousness and to come at it with fresh eyes another day. And maybe end up with something a little bit stronger, I mean, we don't always have pieces that the things that we make in life are, things don't always pan out the way we want them to do, or the way we want them to. And our life and who we are is filled with beauty and horror. The yin and the yang. That was a huge revelation for me in therapy, realizing that some of these facets about myself that I've been trying to push away, trying to change, some things you just can't change about yourself very easily, let alone in half a lifetime. And it's in that we need to appreciate the balance of the yin part of ourself and the yang part of ourself, the light and the dark, the euphoric and the depressive, and that how all of these interplay together and rise up out of circumstances. And gratitude, I think, teaches us to change our perspective, to look at things from different angles. It's not about trying to come under the illusion that all life is rosy and perfect. It's not. It's messy and it's complicated, but gratitude is more about
looking at something from multiple angles and seeing all of the possibilities, not just the one possibility that we're fixated on, or the one narrow idea that we're fixated on, like being fixated on one of these pieces just being absolutely shit. But another perspective is, well, sometimes this is what happens when you take a chaotic approach to painting, when you're just slapping things on and trying to just work with pure raw emotion. And sometimes it doesn't work out. Sometimes it is just messy, like human emotions are. And other times it's magical and it works out amazing. And you're like, how did that happen? Oh, I don't know. All I did was ask the question, what if? And that's gratitude. Gratitude is what if, by asking other questions. And that's how that informs our art too. Approach our art, our music, our programming, the things that we do in our jobs, the fun things we do in our life, asking what if to all of the things. What if I do this instead? If it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out. If it works out, amazing. But it provides us the opportunity to approach life with a lot more curiosity and a lot more possibility. And I think that's where I'm going to leave it. And I have one big distinct possibility in my future, and that is cleaning my hands. Well, my friends, I wish you peace, joy, and happiness and love. And I wish that may you always feel free and feel a deep sense of equanimity despite whatever life throws at you. And that collectively as humans we embrace both the good and the bad sides of ourselves and of life, and keep asking what if? What are the possibilities? Well, my friends, on that note, time for me to bust a move. Bust out of here. Take care.